It's an everyday thing. It's an everyday thing. It's an everyday thing when you let your nuts hang.
In the criminal justice system, sexually-based offenses are considered especially heinous. In New York City, the dedicated detectives who investigate these vicious felonies are members of an elite squad known as the Special Victims Unit. These are their stories.
Okay, so I think I'm going to do this in several different parts, but story time of the time that I was working for these girls that were basically sugar babies and literally almost got into like a $1 million scam. So just to kind of lay it down, how I found this job was on Indeed. I basically wanted to leave my job. I was working at a hotel overnight and came across this job on Indeed to be a personal assistant. And please don't mind my chair squeaking, but so attached to the Indeed link was a phone number to kind of reach out, like send your resume and to send a picture of yourself. Honestly, that would have definitely been a red flag, but I reached out, sent my resume that I had at that time and a picture of myself. And instantly I got a response and it was like, when can we set up an interview? Like, can we do it today? So I basically went in for the interview the same day. Part 3 of the time that I was basically working for sugar babies. Oh, that's good. But basically, so I went in for the interview. I dressed up, and I'm greeted at first. Pulling into the neighborhood, it was a gated community. So I needed the gate code to even go into the community. Which was crazy. Never been anything like that at that time. So I go into the community and I'm greeted by this huge house. The house is big. Like it's giving mansion. Like it's definitely giving mansion. And I'm greeted by these 2 college looking girls. This is part 4, but I'm going to try to keep this a little longer. So I'm basically greeted by these girls who are like college like girls. Like they look like they probably just graduated, giving 22 or so. And there's like French bulldogs, like whole 9 yards. But at that time, like I'm more impressed just by the house. So I go in for the interview. I'm greeted by a personal chef. The person whose house this is, and please wait, because I will tell you whose house this was. I do not see him yet. So the person, I'm greeted by the 2 girls, the personal chef, whole 9 yards. I go into the interview, and they're just asking me like the minimums, like a little bit about me. They're telling me about the job description, like, yeah, you're gonna work here and we're gonna need you to do our laundry, like we're gonna need you to walk our dogs, like go into the apartment, you drive the car, run the errands, like basically, that personal assistant job, so I'm basically hired same exact day. And I'm asked to start same exact day. And so I reach out to my job and I'm like, hey, I at least want to put in a 2 weeks notice to kind of let you know. And my job is like, we're going to fire you right now. So you did not need that notice. You're done. So I basically started at this job literally all in one day. So starting at the job, I'm running my first errand. It was like a little Target run, go and grab them like Post-it notes and pens. And I'm driving like an Alfa Romeo. At that time, I didn't even know, like, I still don't know anything about cars, but I'm in the Alfa Romeo. Like now I would think that's like the coolest thing. But at that time, like, I just thought it was a typical SUV. This is not that. But basically, so I'm running errands for them. I am taken to their apartment. They're showing me where their spare key is, and everything. And it's really nice, like loft style apartment. Looked like it's probably $3,000 plus in rent. They're like buying like cars. Like I'm meeting the one girl's boyfriend. The one girl had like 3. It's only 2 girls, by the way, but and just to kind of describe these girls, so they were best friends, and one was basically like the ringleader, and one was like the sidekick. So the sidekick was more of like the soft-spoken one, where like the ringleader was like the more aggressive, like, I'm running the show, like, and I'm gonna talk about them both more in depth, especially as I talk about whose house it is. But basically, so I'm shown their apartment. Apartment's super nice. Dogs, I'm seeing the dog sitters. Like they're basically kind of just like greeting me, showing me everyone, showing me around, just kind of letting me know like, okay, when you start this job, like Well, I basically started a job, but what I'm gonna actually be doing, like the training. So part 6 of the time that I was working for Sugar Babies and basically was involved in almost a $1 million scam. So just kind of to lay out so to talk about the job, it was a personal assistant job, but the girls told me that they were representing a company, and I don't want to give too much, but they were representing a company, and they were going to offer a service, like a pharmaceutical-like service. I'm going to leave it at that. So for the person whose house this was, it was a older gentleman that they had met. Yeah, I'm gonna literally leave. I don't want to say too much, but it's an older gentleman that they had met, and he was giving 80. He definitely was giving 80. It was an older gentleman, and they were basically working for him to kind of like promote and be like the employees for this company. And like, I'm pretty sure it was more of just their idea, more of a cover up. But they basically were working for this man, and they painted the picture almost as if like they are so busy with their workload that they need a personal assistant. And that's kind of like where and how I got hired. So just to kind of give you that. So as I'm working for these girls, it literally lasted for like 3 days. And I was kind of more off put. Like I felt like I couldn't like really fit in to like their conversations. Like it was really just hard to form a bond, and there was a lot of inconsistencies. So I do want to mention that like when I was hired to work for these girls, they were like, oh, we're going to be flying you to like the Philippines. They're like telling me like, we going to be outside, but they're making it seem like we're on a mission. Like we have so much work to complete. Like we are literally on a mission. But I do want to highlight, like, as I'm working for these girls, there was no work for me to do. So like, other than me running errands, it was like, run errands to do what? Like I was like grabbing like groceries, but as I'm observing them, they are not doing anything. They spent like their day, like they would be like, oh, like we would literally just like clock in. It'd be like 8 o'clock or 9 o'clock. They'd be like, oh, I'm gonna go get some, like, let's just go out to the lunch. They were taking me out to lunch. I didn't go out with them every time, but they were going out to lunch. They would be like, hey, I'm just gonna go get my nails done. I never see these girls work. Like, they were going on vacation. Like, I never seen these girls work at all. Literally at all. So I don't know if I could say this part. They were smuggling this man's money, and they basically were hiding this man for me for, I don't know, territorial purposes. I don't know. The ringleader girl of it all, she was very aggressive on, like, basically she did not want me to meet him at all. And she didn't want the girl who's the sidekick to kind of say too much. I gotta give them names. Okay, let's name the ringleader. Let's name her Spider-Man. I don't know. And let's name the sidekick like Robin. No. Let's name the ringleader Batman and the sidekick Robin. Okay, I like that. Okay, so this is part 8. So Batman was super aggressive, did not want me to meet this man whatsoever. Just super mean. And as I kind of got to see their character over time, like, they were actually just mean girls, like very mean girls, like demeaning, like just mean girls. But this is not that, okay? This is not that. One day, they gave me a task, and they were like, we're gonna need a computer for this task. So they bought like a Mac, like a whole Mac desktop. They bought AirPods. I didn't get them AirPods, but they were just buying all this stuff. And all I could think to myself at that time is like, wow, these girls got money. Mind you, they are taking this man's money. This is literally what they're doing. And so one day as I'm working, just kind of, and the details would be to just kind of like separate his bills and his statements and his credit card information, and like it would be all of this man's like personal information. Like it literally had nothing to do with anything. They were basically controlling this man's bank account, his finances, basically trying to cover themselves up. That's basically what they were doing. Okay, this is part 9. So in the midst of me separating the documents, I come across a will that literally has Batman's name on it. Now, they must have had cameras somewhere that were watching me, probably at all times, rightfully so. And after seeing Batman's name on the will, I didn't pick it up, I didn't touch it, I didn't anything. After seeing Batman's name on the will, I noticed the next day the will was like nowhere to be found. I mean, I wasn't searching for it, but I noticed it was very much gone. And the office was pretty dirty. So everything else was there except for that. Hey. But just to kind of sum it up, so basically, there was a lot of inconsistencies at the job. I felt like I wasn't getting like a true pay, and never really a full week. Now, mind you, I only worked there for 3 days, and I probably was at the job for about like 2 weeks, and I had bills. So I ended up saying, hey, I don't think this is going to work. I was having a hard time even bonding with them anyways. So I was like, I'm going to quit. Like, I need a job ASAP. Like, the rent, baby, the rent was coming. Okay. So I tried to quit. I really think I should do another part for this, because this is literally where the story is going to pick up. Part 10. So once I quit, and sent a text saying whatever, that I wanted to go, they ignored me. Like, no response, no nothing. And it lasted for like, I think at this point it was probably like 5 days. So I started messaging like, hey, am I going to get like my last pay? Like, I don't know how you guys are going to send it, but my rent is coming up soon, so I really need that check. They didn't want to run my pay, so no response again. So I start calling, I'm all kinds of stuff. I'm messaging Robin now too, because I'm like, Robin, like, Batman is not trying to give me my pay. Like, you think you can help me out? No response from Robin. Days are going by. I'm kind of now contemplating, like, I think I'm going to call the cops, because, like, this is not right. So basically, Batman sends me a text like, oh yeah, like, we're gonna drop your check off. Mind you, the job was not too far from where I lived anyways. It was probably like 10-15 minutes or so. So Batman was like, oh yeah, like, we're gonna drop your check off later on today. Days go by, I ain't get no check. I reach out to my like leasing office and I'm like, y'all get a check? Like, anybody get a check? Like, did anything come for me? Because I ain't get no check. So I'm blowing the back off of that phone. This is part 11. So I'm blowing the back off that phone. Nobody is picking up. No check. So I get a text later on that day and it's like, hey, we already dropped the check off. Now, if I'm lying, I'm flying. Because there was no check. The leasing office, nobody got a check. Like, there was no check. So I'm like, these girls, I think they're lying to me, bro. Like, so I called the cops. I filed a police report. And I'm like, hey, like, they're withholding my wages. Like, they X, Y, and Z. They said X, Y, and Z, and da-da-da-da. I ain't get no pay. Like, I ain't get no pay. So fast forward, they never dropped off the check. Once I filed the police report, they were now frantic. They dropped off the check instantly. And it's honestly wild kind of how the whole thing had to go. And so let's fast forward to a year after the fact. A year after the fact, I get a call from a lawyer. And when I pick up the phone, the lawyer's like, hey, do you know Batman? Do you know Robin? And so, man, I'm spilling the beans, because I'm like, I know, like, if you're calling me, like, it has to be some tea. So I'm telling them about, like, the whole work situation, the vibes, everything just kind of just, like, being off, like, how they treated me, the withholding of the wages. And this is what I find out. Tune in for the next part. This is part 12, and I'm pretty sure this is, like, my final part. So the lawyer tells me that these girls were actually running a scam. And in disguise of a business, this pharmaceutical company, these girls were smuggling thousands of dollars of this man's money to their bank account. Not only were they doing that, they were using his money to pay for their cars, of course, where they lived, um, everything. And they were basically disguising certain things as employees like me, pretending as if they're running a legit company. Now it's crazy. These girls were telling me stuff like, we're going to be on Zoom calls, we're going to be getting flued out, all that. And they're basically just taking this man's money and wiring it into their effing bank account. That's some messed up shit. That is really messed up. So kind of, I got out of there at the nick of time. I never got caught up in absolutely any of this. And this happened about 5 years ago or more. I mean, I remember going on the news and their mugshots, they literally got arrested. I don't know if they're still in prison, but they literally got arrested. And it's the craziest thing because, like, I literally found this job on Indeed. So more of the story, be careful of them personal assistant jobs you find on Indeed. Be careful of any job you find on Indeed. Make sure it's legit, because a lot of them on there are scams.
What it do, everyday people, man? It's your boy PJ. Today we back with another lit video. Back in the confessional. Yes, we staying lit, big dog, man. Shout out to my everyday people who rock with me every day. Shout out to my homeboy Lucky Wills and DLC keeps it lit, man. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe to this video. Let me know what y'all think about this in the comment section. Hit the links below. We got HiveMindLabs.com where you can unbig that back, and also Moog's Coffee and Opulence Scents. Okay, where you can get you a candle. Go ahead and get you a candle, man. Tap in. Wonderful video here. We got artisan. I don't know. She'll have to correct me on that. Wonderful lady. Very, very gullible at this time. I wouldn't even say gullible. Listen. Jobs off Indeed is crazy because some black women were replying to jobs from Indeed and coming up missing just like right recently. But I'm gonna give y'all some more about Indeed in just a second. But this is a crazy situation that these women were doing that, and they even thought to hire someone and bring someone in on a scam when all they could have did was just do the grocery shopping and stuff themselves. But of course, they're not freaking criminals. They're just lazy, and they thought that bringing someone in would help their situation. But no, you just got somebody else to testify against the things that they seen you do. So it's pretty much stupid. I don't think this girl was gullible enough to be caught up in a scam. But what she did that was very smart was start to realize that things weren't right and this job wasn't going to work out. And they would have actually brought her in once they felt trusting in her, like they could trust that she was down for the cause. They would have brought her in on the scam, and she would have been locked up with them. And I also tried to Google this, but I don't even know what city this is in, but it's just most of them is about scamming people out of thousands. But it's like there's some months ago, there's some home health care schemes. This is just a bunch of stuff. Duping early. Let me see here. This was duping 16, man. It wasn't just. But anyway, I don't know. There's just a bunch. It's just a bunch. I can't find the story. It's a bunch of women that steal from men, apparently. So, and she said this happened like 5 years ago, and these are recent stories. I'm talking about February 6th, July 8th, 2024. When is this other one? October 19th, 2024. This one's July 8th, 2020. Like, it's just so many different. All these women taking advantage of elderly men. It's crazy. I don't even want to get old and rich. Damn, if y'all gonna be doing brothers like that. But anyway, I'm gonna tell y'all about Indeed. I had a good Uh, like when I used Indeed, it helped me out. Um, as y'all know, I'm a felon, many felonies, been to prison, got out of prison, you know, tried to get my life together and stuff like that, going to school, doing all this stuff. And I was trying to get a job. I couldn't get a job nowhere. So what I did was I printed up like 50 resumes and hit up every place that I could just hand my resume and get a job. And I ended up getting a job, and I worked there like for several tax seasons. I couldn't get hired on permanently because I had felonies, but they kept hiring me back just for tax season because I could do taxes, and I made decent money. It was while I was going to school for accounting, so it worked out. Um, and then like other tax firms was like trying to hire me, and I'm like, cause when you go to school, you get into these different, you go to these different like job things because you need it for credit. So you have to attend these certain things. You have to attend so many meetings and stuff like that because it's credit. Like this is a real tax school, like University of Oklahoma. It was real. So they wanted, you know, and I was like, people was offering like, come fill out an application. I was like, I'll do that. I'll get your card, and I would never do it because I knew they wouldn't hire me. It was pointless at that point. So, but I still had hope that I was gonna get my record expunged. Um, but then, so after doing that for so long, I was trying to get other jobs. I ended up trying to get a job at McDonald's. I couldn't even get a job at McDonald's. I was upset. I was like, man, how can I get a job, like fill out an application without telling them I'm a felon? You know? So I was like, well, let me just look on Indeed for a job. I was sick of regular jobs. I was like, let me go try to work for radio or something like that. And so I went looking for a radio job or a TV station job, and I seen this job called something news. And it was the news. I was like, this is news. It got to be like, you know, TV or something. So, and I could just send in my resume. So I sent in my resume. While I sent in my resume, I ended up going getting a job at this bucket place. Now I got my CDL at the time, so I'm working at this bucket place for like 2 weeks, and they know I got my CDL. They make me a assistant dock supervisor. So now I done got off the forklift, and now, I mean, I still get on the forklift, but most of the time I'm either loading the truck and moving the trucks in and out of dock and doing paperwork because I had, you know, I was pretty smart. So, man, I went from like $15 to $19 an hour or something like that, or from 15 to 21, something like that. 15 to something. I got a good pay raise. And then that job that I sent that resume and they called me and was like, well, you know, we want to get you for an interview. And I was like, okay. So I Googled it. I Googled the place. And it was some Japanese stuff. And I was like, what is this? Well, it looked like a cartoon. I was like, ah, this might be a little scam job or something like that. But let me go to the job. And mind you, I had just stopped going to OU, or maybe I was still going to OU. I think I had just that my year was up, so I had stopped going to OU, or the semester was up, and so I go in there the job is in Norman. It's in Norman at the Weather Center. So I'm like, well, okay, I know where this is. And I'm like, man, it's destined for me to be at this school because I just finished my first year at OU, and then I get a job right down here at the Weather Center, or I didn't get the job yet. I'm going down there to get the job. And so I get in there. Now, one of the main boss, I didn't know who she was, but she was like this short hair, blonde haired lady. Boy, she was fine. I was like, damn. You know, like she was fine. And she reminded me Janine from Ghostbusters, but like in a cute way, not like the movie Janine, like the cartoon Ghostbusters. She was pretty, short hair, had that nice little voice, and I was like, damn, she fine. But that's neither here nor there. Anyway, I went in for that interview. I think I did a good job. And I was like, they asked me if I knew what the job was. I said I Googled it. And it was like these planes and trains. It looked like a video game. I didn't know. I couldn't figure out. It was all in Japanese. And they was like, yeah, this is a Japanese company. Blah, 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 blah. What we do is this and that. So then they asked me about myself. And I was like, all right. So I'm like, I have no idea what this job is. They still ain't told me what the job is. So the first interview was just a meeting. So I go back to my bucket job. A month later, they called me back for a second interview. I'm like, what? Okay. So I come back in for a second interview. Then they tell me what the job entails. And I'm like, oh, so this is like a, whatever. So I don't want to put the job out there because I don't know legalities of that. I got a good rapport. I was thinking about going back there too, but I was like, nah, I don't want to go back there. But then I found out how much I would make, and they said $14 an hour. And I was like, $14 an hour? I make $19 doing these buckets. But I was like, I just think on it. But I went on with the interview and everything. A month go by. So at this point, now it's 3 months then passed. They called me for a third interview. Now basically, they're telling me that I got the job. They just want me to meet the head owners who are in Japan, and we do it this was before Zoom. Like maybe Zoom was out, but they was doing video calls before then. So like when everybody was doing Zoom calls when the pandemic came out, we had been doing video calls. Like we had been doing video calls for years at that point because you talk to so many people around the world. So then they basically gave me the job, and I figured out what it was. I was like, and I took the job. I took a $5 pay cut from $19 to $14 an hour. And I will say that was the best decision I ever did in my life. Had I not taken that job, had I kept that job, I wouldn't be where I am today. So it was a good thing and a bad thing. I lost money, but then over time I got way more, and then I was able to travel the world. So jobs on Indeed is good. Some of them are. But like I said, she was getting scammed because these are those jobs that you could just send resumes in. All of them you don't have to apply online. There's no online website. Indeed has a lot of jobs that you could just send in your resume. And like she said, just send in our resume and a picture and they could give her a job. But anyway, that worked out for me. That was one of the best decisions I'd made in my life. Unfortunately, it didn't work out for her the same way. But you never know. If you're having a hard time getting a job, you're a felon or something like that, and you need to, you know what I'm saying? You need to figure out life and go to Indeed and get a job. You'll be able to send your resume in, they'll hire you. You can find some decent jobs that'll just hire you and make pretty good money. Anyway, everyday people, let me know what y'all think about this in the comment section. Like, comment, subscribe, and holler at you later. Peace.
Day and night. For some women, it can start working in as fast as 1 week.